Hi, I'm Kim Terek, and I'm starting a channel on YouTube for information about this particular subject I'm calling Finding Zen. And my own personal opinions about this are going to be infused on a regular basis. But the subject area is taking a lifestyle, a personal lifestyle, which we will also at times discuss, talking about society and how our lives revolve around a certain situation in our lives. And it changes from a work lifestyle where on a regular basis from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, or on a 40-hour week scale, or however many hours of waking time we spend on a work lifestyle, how we transition and change that kind of life to a living lifestyle. It is a situation I can have personal opinion on, but it's also a possible situation that will happen to society. There is a lot of discussion out there that says that we will have about 80% of certain types of skilled labor that will go away because in the future, in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 20, we may have 80% job loss because of the advances in technology in manufacturing and even in the service sector. Because now that we have testing and open, or at least public knowledge about AI that had a significant impact in this earlier this year when OpenAI 4, GPT-4 came out, there was a great deal of discussion, and there tends to be on a regular basis a great deal of discussion as to how much an artificial intelligent large language model could think and produce and learn and then rethink about the same kinds of things that humans do for work on a white collar basis. So now we already had the discussion that potentially 80% of our blue collar or hard labor jobs would be replaced by machinery. We've had that for a number of years. Now we are going to have a discussion about potentially having white collar thought process types jobs replaced or reduced because of AI. So those two things combined together draw me to wanting to say that I want a YouTube channel to talk about this lifestyle change. And I can see it as a positive. I have a very close affinity to an interest in understanding AI. It's part of my work area, subject area. And if I want to continue work, I have to understand it. And now I always know that for large corporations of any industry outside of technology, utilizing technology is a cost. It's a cost to their business, their actual business activity, whether it's a service or a product that they produce to make money for their company. They have to invest a great deal of cost into creating a technology in, environment, an environment where they can cut jobs and people. So it is going to be a slower change than I believe most people are talking about of this subject on YouTube. But it is still a very big and real possibility of what they're talking about, that we will potentially lose more and more jobs because the mentality is that humans are not as good as machines, and doing something accurately over and over is better being done by a machine. We used to speak that we would have job transition and training and different jobs when that occurred. However, I believe that it is possible in the next 5 to 10 years that we will see less jobs, period, and less paid, higher paying jobs, period, as a society in the United States and potentially outside of the United States with other kinds of cultural phenomenon. And that is going to make us as a society have to consider the option of living our lives and waking up every day, not going to a job, not believing a job is important, believing that we have meaning and purpose in our lives beyond working, and that money and how much money you make on a monthly or yearly basis has some sort of idea of how important you are personally, how much good you do to this world, how much I am important. That has to change completely. So, no matter whether this is a retirement situation for someone that has had a full length career, or if this is just a situation where there's a particular person in a job with a particular skill set that they spent some good deal of years or periods of time developing a skill set, and they are no longer finding that job opportunity, either because of AI, because of machine learning, because of technology replacing jobs in a particular sector of the industries in non-IT industries. The person has to believe. They have to believe and realize differently every morning and every day. They have to realize the importance of themselves, just living, just existing. Existing doesn't cost money. Being happy and fulfilling a state of mind that is Zen, potentially, that is a situation where we are ready to handle any opportunities that come our way that day. That's Zen. That is not happiness. That is why I've titled it this. You can see my cat just came up. We have to live in a certain mentality every day completely differently than, oh, I get up, I do X, Y, Z, and I get paid during 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or during whatever time frame. If you're a medical professional, oh, I get up, I have to go, I have to understand what kinds of issues are occurring today and what my patients have as illnesses, and I have to suggest XYZ. Well, if AI has all of the language models available, then and they have all of the knowledge of the medical profession already in it, can an AI go into a doctor's office? Can we have technology that says, here is the patient set that a doctor being paid $300,000 to $500,000 a year, maybe more, would typically be paid to have XYZ work that day? That was the entire argument of medical professions and why we went to trying to have a public healthcare system and an insurance system for less income individuals. So we had to publicly try and support during Obama's presidency an insurance policy for anyone that did not have as high of an income. Would those same people now that the entire United States supports as an Obamacare supplemented insurance policy, where we have more and more people, 1/5, 1/6, 1/10, 1/3? Do we have a third of our society on an insurance policy that's not of Social Security age? You know, we are not talking about 65 up. We are talking about people in general ages that may have the lowest quality insurance that you can get in the United States. However, they can go into a hospital and potentially talk to an AI about their illness instead of a doctor. It could potentially upfront cost the provider network a good deal of money to set that up. But it would also take away the necessity for doctors on a regular basis for that kind of medical issue. It also could improve that subsector, that segment of society's healthcare. For example, that was farther along than I thought for that subject, but I'm introducing the subject of how a person goes from a working mentality every day, I have to make money, I have to make money, I have to a mentality that I'm living, waking up, and my meaning and my happiness and everything I do that day is all about living. Now, that living style is dependent on how much money I have to be able to spend that day. So it still is an economic sort of mentality at times. You obviously, if you have no backup, you have no home paid for, you have no savings, and you have to find either a way to obtain that money to live and be happy without going to work. You can have a passive level of income that only takes so many hours to create, and it just generates some sort of income. We could have some sort of public society income, which is either coming from the government or some sort of roundabout way coming from the government because of a disability or something that we go through. And welfare. We do still have a number of our society on situations where welfare is offered as a government, and that's not based on health in any way, their health. We are having and we are still seeing low paying jobs available, readily available. And that is because small businesses rely on people valuing work without the dollar sign. We are now going through, and we went through 8% to 10% inflation. I don't know where the inflation is today because I am understanding of how it's calculated, but I have not studied it. And everyone that's talking, I am very financially minded. That's part of my background. Um, some of that may get infused, but we do have people in our government and in our economic engines and industry telling us that we still have inflation. And the reason we are raising Fed funds rates and the Treasury continues to raise rates higher and higher is right now they still believe we have high inflation. However, inflation is a backwards looking measure, and they use certain things that are consumer priced that are heavily utilized, gas, milk, certain food products, and they combine things together and do an index, and they decide what inflation is, the cost of those things added together in US dollars in the United States. All of that is being said that all over the world there is levels of inflation because of the pandemic. And coming out of the pandemic, we are trying to avoid significant economic damage. That is still continuing. What the United States did in terms of trying to insulate ourselves from an economic problem when we were starting to see significant economic change and revolutions of uncertainty in marketplaces, stock market, and then we had the infusion of new market influx. So we have new investors that are using different investment security engines like cryptocurrency. To me, that is just one level of a type of financial model. It's a security, basically. It's just not regulated. Maybe it will be. But the stock market runs or operates somewhat similarly to cryptocurrency's whole idea. and it just has a regulated market that is government regulated. You have to be, if you go IPO and you're not a private company, so you stay private until you want to try and gain investors. So you gain assets when you become a public traded company. But on the trade off, you no longer become the owner, you sell shares of a company. That's how it works. And publicly traded companies is the United States standard. We are going through a change, a significant transition, and it involves the value of a dollar. It involves the value of our currency, of our US regulated federal backed currency that is going through a change against world currencies, other world currencies. All of those changes are going to have an effect on society in the future. Now, at some point, again, will we go from you must work to get X US currency dollars to a society where you can live? You can live. This X amount is what you can probably come up with. It's going to be very low. This X amount is what you can live on if you do nothing for work. Mentality wise and psychology wise, you're still living. You're still doing what you'd want to do every day. And your trade off, your personal trade off, if you're not working towards a financial stability of a certain career set, you are living and you are doing what you should be doing for yourself to make yourself happy. And what I say is to make yourself in a Zen state, in a state of mind where you can handle anything. That's a stable state, a peaceful state. And that to me is more important than happiness. But that's my personal philosophy. Everyone believes that we need to have happiness all the time. Personally, I don't believe that. I believe that we take ourselves from a state where we can say, no, I'm going to push myself and I'm not going to be happy for XYZ reasons in order to push my limits. I was an athlete and I still coach. And that is what it takes to physically get your body into a state where it's stronger. Your physical strength depends and relies on you taking yourself out of happiness and mentally pushing yourself, challenging yourself through new limits of physical capabilities. If you aren't an athlete or you never were in that sort of situation for enough time, you wouldn't feel that way. You'd feel like being happy is the most important thing in the world. I think I understand it. I can relate to it. I also have artistic sides to me, and happiness and the elation of happiness happens when I'm performing in artistic ways. So I understand the need or the desire to want to be happy. I just also believe more in the state of Zen. To me, I'm calling it Zen for this purpose of recording, because I want people to understand how you go from I need to work, my meaning every day when I wake up, my meaning of life, my meaning of day is working, to my meaning is understanding where I'm at, what I'm going to be doing that day, and my purpose is more involved in, yes, making me happy, but also creating what I want from this world without putting a price tag on it. So that's my introduction. I hope I keep going. It's 20 minutes. I said I'd only do 20-minute recordings. Have a good day.